What's going on, everyone? We are back for another edition of the Bleed Los Podcast, Carne Asada. We are previewing the NLCS this week. We finally know our opponent. We are facing the Milwaukee Brewers. We're going to talk all about it next. Welcome back again. Thank you for joining us as we get all ready for the NLCS tomorrow. We got Anthony here to break it all down for you. We got producer Roger behind the scenes. And as you know, I am Drea. Before we get into everything, we want to make sure to tell you about DodgersBeat.com. Stay up to date and in the know with all of the latest and most comprehensive coverage of the Los Angeles Dodgers. It is your one stop for articles, interviews, contests, merch, and more. Never miss a beat and check out DodgersBeat.com. All right, Anthony, we are in the final four. We have a healthy starting rotation. How are you? And will we be flying the NL pennant by the end of the week?
I'm doing good. I'm a little sad because it is the last 2 weeks of the baseball year. Kind of a little bit depressing, but again, the best time of year. The last four teams I think are the best four teams remaining in baseball. So it's an opportunity to kind of solidify yourself as a dynasty for the Dodgers, and for these other teams to kind of solidify themselves as a top contender going forward as well too.
I like that you use the word dynasty. So if we are holding up the trophy in 2 weeks, would you consider it an official dynasty era of Dodger baseball?
I would say yes, because you would have to include, see, I like to quantify it by decades. So the year starts in 2020, basically, which we ended up winning that World Series, and then we won in 24. And if we win it this year, it'd be 25. So that's kind of 3 years out of 10. You kind of solidify yourself as the team of the decade, essentially. With still have 5 more years left in the decade, you still have a chance to probably win another one. It also adding on top of that, you have the opportunity to do something that hasn't been done since the Yankees of the early 2000s, is kind of win back to back. It's kind of like the impossible task. In 2020 we won, but in 2021 we ended up faltering in this step at the NLCS. But we also faced a Atlanta team, I think, that was super red hot, and they also were just very tired of losing to us, because I felt like we were always just beat up on them, and they finally just broke through and eventually ended up being world champions themselves. But I'm excited. This is the NLCS is as high as we can go before we get to the World Series. So I think we have a decent matchup here against Milwaukee, and I can't wait to break it down.
I can't either. I mean, this is what we were dreaming of all this season, and we were talking about this in the preseason, and what the front office has been setting up for all this time. So, yeah, we're going to get into all of it, but I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on what you've thought of playoff baseball so far. Has it not been so entertaining?
It's been a little bit entertaining. I've enjoyed more of the games where the Dodgers aren't playing, because when I watch the Dodgers play, like, my heart is just thumping. But I watched the Seattle game, game five, and it was just like I was glued to my seat, and I have no real rooting interest. I have, yeah, earlier in the season, and towards the end of the regular season, I was up in Seattle because I have family up in the area, and I could only
Mhm.
imagine, like, the emotions they were going through. I sent a message out to my Theo, and I don't think he replied to me in like 40 minutes after the game. I think he just kind of like blacked out. My cousin Luigi as well too. He's kind of going through the ups and downs of a postseason run. He kind of doesn't know what to feel. He feels like he's kind of scared in the moment and all that. But this is the best time of year. This is kind of what every team
Mhm.
should be striving to play for, is postseason ball. And I kind of hated that we're being vilified for being so successful and basically playing postseason ball for the past 13 years in a row, however long it's been. But yeah, I feel like every team, whenever you get into the postseason, you have a legitimate chance of winning a World Series.
Yeah, like I don't know how those fans made it through those 15 innings. I had people that were texting me or communicating with me that never watch baseball, but they were watching that game. And I thought, oh my God, has potential to be so good for the sport, even going into next season. Because overall, we hadn't had a chance to talk about this yet because we've been so busy. But viewership at the end of the season was reported for all MLB games, and overall, including in Japan, you're talking about, in some cases, a 20 to 30% jump in viewership across all the networks. You're even talking about a 20% jump in social media viewership in terms of people viewing all social media posts about baseball. I mean, the Dodgers have a piece of that, obviously, because there's so many high profile names on our team. But do you think this is like just going to be amazing for growing the game into the year for the in the years to come?
I think we really are in like a new golden era of baseball. I feel like a lot of these guys are like superstars in their own, and like we've talked about to lengths about the superstars that we have here on the Dodgers. But if you look at Seattle, you got guys like Julio Rodriguez, Randy Arozarena, Big Dumper, who might be the MVP at the end of the year. You look at the
Right?
Brewers, you have Jackson Churio, you have Christian Yelich, who was an MVP. He's kind of on his last legs, but he's kind of led this like young upstart team kind of to the NLCS. Freddie Peralta is a dog. Big Mizorowski, I like the way he pitches. He kind of goes out there and doesn't really care what you think about him. He's going to go out there and dominate. And then you look in Toronto, you got guys like Vlad Guerrero Jr., who's kind of taking that next step to superstar elite status, and you
Mhm.
got a bunch of guys around him like Max Scherzer. Yeah, so I feel like every team has these stars. It's just whether you're willing to spend and surround talent with them to kind of
Right.
maximize their abilities and stuff like that. And I feel like we're kind of at the peak of that. I think a lot of teams are starting to go for it. I hope it doesn't end up in a lockout, like I feel like it might be trending towards, but I feel like there's enough young talent everywhere, kind of all over the league, that you don't really have to worry about like one team. Yeah, like the Dodgers have a lot of young talent, but we also develop a lot of our guys. A lot of our guys come through our own system and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like we're kind of in a new golden era of baseball right now.
It's what it feels like, and I was talking to my family about that this week, and they're like, "Is it just because we watch baseball that we feel like it surrounds us more and more?" But I don't think so, because so many people that I know are now getting into it that weren't previously into it, and this is in the last several years. So I'm really excited for that. But you bring up a really good talking point that I'm hearing in the media regarding the Milwaukee Brewers, who we're facing this week, and the Los Angeles Dodgers, who have very different payrolls. And one of the biggest reasons we are so vilified, I feel like it's like, oh, you see it on social media. You bought your championship. It's the best money can buy. And you have a team, from my understanding, that has a payroll of 121.7 versus the Dodgers 350.3 million, which is a very different number. I think we pay more in luxury tax than they even have in their entire payroll. And does that kind of kill that talking point that only teams that spend money can make it to the dance at the end?
No, because I think I read a stat somewhere that the Mariners also have a very low payroll as well too. So I mean, I think payroll it comes in handy when you have these big teams spending, but that's kind of more towards the regular season. We How many times have we gone to the postseason with a Dodger team that's won like 100 plus games and they end up
Mhm.
getting cooked in the first round, or even worse, like in a wild card scenario? So I don't think payroll. Yeah, payroll. It's nice that we have every off season we have an opportunity to sign a big name free agent. There's a few guys that are free agents this summer or this winter that I think the Dodgers have a legitimate chance of actually signing and probably pursuing. But at the end of the day, it's the player's decision. Like the player doesn't want to sign for the Dodgers, he's not going to sign for the Dodgers. He can go sign for someone else. Corey Seager, for example. He was our guy, and he kind of had it in his mind that he was not going to resign, and he was free to go and spend his time in Texas. Trey Turner, we traded for him. He chose to go in Philadelphia. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to the player where he decides to play. Yeah, most players would want to play in Los Angeles because it's a big market, the stars and all that. But a lot of guys don't want to play in LA, and they're free. They feel like they are better off in a Midwest team or even East Coast team, etc. So it just depends on market at that point.
I mean, and at the end of the day, like you can be hot, you can be cold throughout the year, but in the regular season, it doesn't really have a bearing on who's going to get hot at the end. I mean, we've seen teams that did not necessarily perform very well in the regular season. They make it in by the skin of their teeth, and they go all the way to the dance, to the ultimate dance. Think of the Arizona Diamondbacks just a few years ago. So I feel like the Dodgers do get vilified, but I think that they're just doing a lot of things right, and it's really rooted in jealousy. But yeah, I've seen a lot of the talking point on the Milwaukee Brewers side is like, oh, we creamed them six, we beat them six times, we swept them, we're going to be fine. And I remember seeing that a week ago with the Phillies team, because they did dominate us in the regular season. But just talk to me about how that, at the end of the day, we're Dodger fans. We know how this goes. That really has no bearing on what's going to happen this week, right?
No, it doesn't. So I went back and I looked at the matchup. Yeah, they beat us 6-0. Well, 6 games they swept them completely. But three of those were one-run ball games. Two of them were two-run ball games, and one ended up being a blowout. So
Yeah.
what I took from it was that yeah, they beat up Yamamoto. Yamamoto had his worst start for us essentially ever. He only went zero point 0.2 innings. He couldn't even get one inning in. That ended up being the blowout, so that was kind of his worst outing for us. And then I looked at the rest of them. They didn't face Ohtani, and they never faced Blake Snell. And then also it was kind of at the start of the Dodgers slump. Essentially, July 4th is kind of where like the season turned for us, and like it started just trending downhill from there. So I feel like there's some things to take from it. Like we did face Mizorowski. Ohtani did get one home run off him, but he did end up shutting down the rest of the team for 6 innings. So, and most of the guys they ended up beating up are in our bullpen now in Kershaw and Sheehan. So that's kind of like little things that I take into consideration. But then some of the other games, some of those L's are attributed to Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates. They kind of served it up for them at the very end, and they had walk-offs or they blew the game like in the eighth inning and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a mixed bag. You have a lot of things here and a lot of things there, but I think going into it, you kind of just have data going into it, and then once you start playing the games, you start realizing, whoa, this guy's not how he was in July. He's a whole totally different player now in October. So you just kind of take it for data. They did end up facing Tyler Glasnow twice. Tyler Glasnow actually did really well against them, but we'll see where he's at here in October when he starts against them. But yeah, you kind of just take it as data, basically.
And we don't know where the data is going to go this week because really anything can happen. But I kind of want to, before we dive into like the potential roster, which will be released tomorrow, and all the other things that we think we're going to see in the series, I kind of just want to put a bow on the NLDS because it kind of could lead into there's a little bit of a cold streak with Shohei, but one of the players that I kind of had a little bit of thoughts about since we last recorded, it was so wild. Remember, there was that walk-off error, and I guess this is that game was the first postseason series game in history to end on a walk-off. And I think we were just kind of recovering from the emotions the last time that we were talking. And I was thinking of Orion Kirkering. Obviously, the guy's got a lot of press in the last several days. And it reminded me of something Vince Scully used to say that, we pray for, a really good game, but no scapegoats. And what did you think about kind of like how he handled it and kind of like, what we could see in the next week in terms of, hoping that we don't run into any of those errors? I think the Dodgers kind of learned from, what they saw in the Philly series, how they did.
What I love is that he was there answering questions from every reporter that had answered questions for him to answer. He didn't run away from that. He kind of had to yeah, you could tell that he was still struggling with his emotions because it's still very raw at that moment. You just lost the season on that error. It's something that he's done a million times in spring training, high school,
Yep.
even in lower levels, little league and stuff like that. And I think it's just a moment where he kind of blacks out. He fumbles the ball in the initial kind of scoop, and he just starts to panic. And then that's a real human reaction there. He just panics and goes, "Oh shit!" And like he looks up, and I think he sees Kim through his peripheral, and he's like, "I gotta get him." He doesn't even look at Ryomuto, who's pointing towards first base, but it's such a bang bang play in the playoffs. All that emotion, all the fans kind of yelling. You're in an away crowd, a big moment, and I think it just happens. I think I came away a fan of his because he didn't run away from that. He kind of just had to embrace it, and he stood there. Other players now, if you want to talk about the wild card, essentially with Manny Machado, the quotes that he had, and it kind of shows like those were raw emotions as well too. But you can tell like he wasn't really like feeling that. He kind of was just over it. Kirkering is not the reason the Phillies lost that series. I know a lot of people want to blame it on him, but he's not the reason they lost it. It's their situational hitting. Their top three guys really didn't do anything all that series as well too. But it's easy to point them out because that's the last play of the Phillies season essentially is that error. But
Mhm.
yeah, I came away kind of a fan of his kind of because he stood out there and he kind of embraced it. That, yeah, like I messed up, but I'm not gonna run away from this. I'm gonna face it with like a man.
I like that too about him because you don't always see that in the post game pressers. I mean, obviously, we can't judge people by how they react unless we're in that position ourselves. But a lot of those Phillies players really are stand up guys. And I have like I've said it many times on my socials, I have no beef with them. If anything, I respect them and the way they've always respected the Dodgers. But yeah, the Phillies are a great team. But I think one thing that I've been kind of reading more about is how the importance of fundamentals. And I think that's where our team stands out in a lot of ways, minus a few errors here and there. The veterans and the guys on our team really understand that you don't just win games by being super talented and slugging. You actually have to know how to play the basics of the game really well. We saw it in the World Series last year, and that was a big analogy to where, the pointing at first base, it looked a lot like the Garrett Cole play where he's pointing at first base last year, but the Dodgers understand fundamentals. Do you think that's going to be the key for them in the next 2 weeks?
It's gonna have to be. There's also what I like is we have a lot of vets on our team, and I don't think they're gonna be shied from the moment, even if they find themselves in a situation where they might be down 2-1 in the series or down late in the game, and you kind of have to win it so you don't go back to LA down 0-2. I feel like they've just been through a lot of wars together that they kind of like they don't crumble from the moment. They know what to expect. I don't think there's something that is gonna shock them if that happens in this series. I think it's gonna be pretty straightforward. I think the only worry I have about them is the offense. The offense has been very stagnant, is the word I would like to use, apart from a few guys. I think that's would be the main reason I would think we don't advance is if the Milwaukee Brewers bullpen kind of just dominates our offense. If the offense just continues to have a series that they had like against the Phillies, I think we're into big trouble. But I still feel like the Dodgers' strength is going to be their starting rotation. Their four guys they got going, their four horses essentially. I think that's going to be what the key for us to move forward to the World Series.
Yeah, I am worried about the offense. Definitely want to talk a little bit about Dave Roberts' comments on Shohei and the key that he's going to provide going into the next week, because he essentially said that without Shohei performing the way we know he can, that's going to be a major hindrance to us, because he needs to do just a bit more than he did. I mean, he was 1 for 18, 9 strikeouts, 2 walks. It just didn't seem characteristic of Shohei. So definitely want to get into that, because we had a few scares last series. We were always in a really good space taking those first 2 games, but the playoffs are scary because we know anything can turn on a dime, and there was a real possibility we could come back to Philly and played a game 5, and who knows what would have happened at that point. So definitely want to get into that in just a second, but I want to make sure to give a shout out to our sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by Delete Me. Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online. As someone with an active online presence, privacy is really important to me. If you have ever known a person who has gone through identity theft, harassment, doxing, then you probably know how important this can be. So take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me now at a special discount for our listeners. Get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/hit, HIT, and use promo code HIT at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/hit and enter code HIT at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/hit, code HIT. Okay, Anthony. So yeah, definitely want to talk to you about this crazy stat as we're looking ahead at what we're going to have to do just a little bit better in the NLCS. But essentially the Phillies, crazy stuff. They scored more runs than us. They had more hits, more homers, struck out fewer times, drew more walks, stole more bases. Dodgers hit .199 batting average and had a 557 OPS. That's not good. It's almost a miracle that we even won that series. How did we really pull out of that with those numbers?
Situational hitting, that's what it came down to. Game
Mhm.
one, Teoscar Hernandez has that big home run against Matt Strahm. Game two, you had Will Smith kind of come through in the clutch there, get us a 2 RBI single. And then game four, yeah, it's kind of it goes back to the mishap that kind of like led to it. So you basically have to rely on your situational hitting, and it came through for you in that series. What worried me was more because it was a 5 game series compared to a 7 game series. You kind of have more room to breathe. Like if the Dodgers were to lose tomorrow, I wouldn't necessarily think the sky is falling because you got more room for error compared to a 5 game series. But yeah, it's going to come down to the offense. Guys like Shohei have to come through. Freddie Freeman's kind of been struggling. If you look at the numbers, he hasn't really been that good. Andy Pages, apart from that last hit he had against the Phillies, really wasn't a hit. He got bailed out, has been awful as well too. And Will Smith, he had that one single against the Phillies, but he's also been kind of struggling. I think that kind of attributed to like lack of playing time, just trying to get his feel back, kind of being thrown back into a playoff situation is rough for him from the outside looking in. But some of our guys have been very hot. Mookie's been hot. Teo has been his had his ups and downs as well too. But more ups and downs. Max Muncy, he's actually a guy that I have highlighted here because he didn't face the Brewers in the regular season because he was out with injury. The same for
Right.
this other guy too, Kike Hernandez. Kike Hernandez did not face the Brewers as much either because he was out injured for most of that stretch as well too. So those are guys that I look to. The lack of lefty options as well too. They're not going to have that many lefty fireball throwers, especially. So I look like
Mhm.
to guys like Betts, Tail, and Kike to kind of like break through. Same with Ohtani, struggles with a lot of lefties, so kind of gives you a
Yeah.
different look. But yeah, it's going to ultimately come down to the offense. You're not going to survive many postseason games if you have those numbers that you mentioned before. We kind of got lucky that our situational hitting and the Brewers, the Phillies, top three really didn't perform apart from Game 4 when they were kind of just running it up on Clay and Kershaw.
And you've been preaching that all season. Situational hitting is such a key because that is what's really going to have the Dodgers capitalize on those key moments where a team who's really good, they're all good at this point, but they may slip up at here and there. And the Dodgers know how to, that's when they strike. But talk to me about the intentional walking of Shohei ahead of Mookie. I was looking up some really cool things about this. And in the time he was with Boston and in LA, he was David Ortiz was intentionally walked twice ahead of him, and Shohei has already been walked 21 times ahead of him. And in those times, he has a 526 batting average. He's 10 for 19 with two doubles, one home run, three walks, a sac fly, and 18 RBIs. Will teams ever learn to stop doing it? Because I'm happy, do it all you want. But do you think something gets in Mookie's head like, okay, I'm an MVP too, and I'm going to have this moment?
I think he said it himself. He takes it like a sign as like disrespect essentially, but it's kind of at that point the manager on the other team is you're trying to pick what you want to die by, whether it's Otani with like two runners on or Mookie with the bases loaded. And if Mookie finds a way to get on, you still have Teoscar right behind him. You have Freddie Freeman right behind him. So it's
Mhm.
kind of like a no-win situation because if you, let's say you do walk Otani and Mookie comes through, then you look like a fool because you loaded the bases, or you put a runner on essentially, and now Mookie comes through and stuff like that. Or if your pitcher does come through and gets Mookie out, but then now they have to face Freddie Freeman and Teoscar and they come through, it's kind of like you're kind of in a lose-lose situation. But I kind of look at Betts as like he's kind of revitalized his second half of the season, considering where he was and with all everything that he went through personally and with all the injuries and the strange illness that he had at the start of the year. I think he's on his way to winning a Gold Glove too, as well at shortstop. It's something that's kind of like crazy considering that he hasn't really played the position apart from this year and last year as well too. But yeah, I just don't know what else to say about him. I do think he's gonna have a big series as well too. But yeah, I think walking Shohei would be a mistake right now if I was on the Brewers side, just because he's struggling immensely at the plate. I would rather take my chances pitching to him, considering how hot Mookie's been through the playoff stretch, and like I'd rather do that than kind of give him a base. Because now I have Ohtani on base, and there's the threat of him possibly stealing stuff like that. He hasn't really stolen that much this season, but the threat kind of looms essentially. But yeah, I would rather face Shohei, which it sounds crazy now, but you got to go based off the most recent numbers, which is his postseason numbers, which have not been good. But yeah, I would rather take my chances facing Ohtani than having to have him on base with Mookie behind him and the rest of the guys behind him as well.
So that's what a lot of the chatter has been. It's like he's been so kind of inconsistent at the plate, and he has been having these really just like, whoa, that's not a Shohei Ohtani at bat. I mean, he tends to strike out a lot anyway, but you just never know, or an opposing team's manager never know. They just don't know when Shohei's going to have his moment, and then he'll probably be vilified for not walking Shohei if there was a base open. So I guess you really can't win on that one because Shohei's presence probably just that alone merely just strikes fear in most opposing pitchers and teams. But yeah, Mookie has definitely been amazing after he kind of said, threw caution to the wind and said, "The devil may care. Let me just go see if how I can help win games." He's also been playing the guitar. Did you see him get on the plane with his guitar and his today
Yeah,
or
I
his
did.
yesterday?
Yeah.
He was so
Yeah, I
yeah.
feel
All he
like.
has
Oh, yeah, my
no, it's
bad.
like I just thought maybe he's
Yeah, he's taking advantage of his free time, and I think it kind of uses him to like relax a little bit. A lot of these guys, at least from what I've seen from prior interviews they've had in podcast situations and stuff like that, especially during the playoff game, it's kind of hard to turn it off. Depending on the result, whether you win or lose, you go back to the hotel, you have your dinner, and you're still thinking about the game, and you still have to like adjust to like what just happened and stuff like that. And you also have to prepare for the next game tomorrow as well too. So a lot of guys kind of use different ways to kind of de-escalate and just like clear their mind, like, all right, whatever happened today, it's in the past. They have to move forward and kind of just like reset from there.
Yeah, you know, you read my mind because that's what I was going to ask you. Like, I know sometimes people say, well, Mookie shouldn't be doing podcasts. Mookie shouldn't be bowling. Mookie shouldn't be. And, you know, you're not Mookie Betts. So every one of us has our different ways to kind of decompress and take our mind off the stress or how we flip the page to the next day. And whatever Mookie's doing seems to be working. So I was just fascinated by his routines because he's one of my favorite players, always will be. But another one of my favorite players that has quickly kind of shot up in my heart, and I think everyone's heart, is Roki Sasaki. And I was thinking about him a lot because we just barely saw him come up to the majors again. What was it? Late September, September 24th, I think it was. And when the trade deadline was going down, you had all the teams. They want Mason Miller. Padres got Mason Miller. Johan Duran. Phillies got Johan Duran. They're not in the playoffs anymore. Neither one of those teams. Like the big names are all gone. And Roki Sasaki was not being talked about at that time. But I don't know if this was the plan all along or maybe just kind of luck fell on the Dodgers. But do you think there was kind of like Andrew Friedman always knew he had this weapon in his back pocket ready to deploy?
See, I think they just ended up. See, I honestly don't know what their mindset is, but I think they just got lucky because there was a chance there. I mean, I remember seeing the tweets like if Rookie had one more bad outing in AAA, they were going to shut him down for the rest of the season. And he
Yeah.
miraculously ended up finding his stuff. I think he said it himself. He was breaking down old high school film and stuff like that, and he saw like his back leg was adjusted in a different way. So that ended up helping with his velocity and his command and all that. But I think we just got lucky. I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't really expecting much from Roki this season. I was kind of like, hey man, like bad season, injuries happen, it sucks. Let's kind of just wipe it away and like we'll start fresh and clean in April or March whenever they report back to spring training and like we'll just go from there. But yeah,
Mhm.
honestly, he looks like a completely different person to the person that we saw at the beginning of the year. He doesn't even look like the guy who was kind of like nervous. I think the nervous kind of more had to do with like he probably knew he didn't have his best stuff and he was injured and he doesn't know how to like adjust to major league hitting yet. And like the major leaguers were just gonna take advantage of his mistakes and now, like you look at him, and he looks just when he's standing in the bullpen, especially in this most recent series, just stone cold face killer. Like it looks like a hired assassin, essentially. A
Yeah.
lot of the edits going around on social media crack me up, but yeah, I think we kind of lucked into Roki being this guy. I honestly, if he doesn't end up being this guy, I look at guys like maybe Ben Casparius, maybe might be the option. God forbid, maybe like Kirby Yates as well too. But Roki's kind of like helped like link the two, the starting pitching to the bullpen. Because he those 3 innings he looked very dominant, but I also don't think he's gonna be in situations where he has to go 3 innings. I think that was kind of more like,
Mhm.
look, dude, we have to win this game because we really don't want to go back to Philadelphia and like we're gonna stretch you out as far as you can go on 3 innings is your max. Like, thank you stuff like that. But going forward, I think he's going to be facing a lot of the Brewers like top three guys in that lineup, whereas Contreras, Churio, and etc. Yelich. I think he's going to be a 1 inning guy going forward, unless it's like a must win scenario and we're depleted and we're like, look, man, like we need you to go two here or we need you to go three, try to get us to the finish line essentially. But I love what I've seen from him in the postseason. A lot of Dodger fans want to keep him as the closer. This guy's not our closer. He's going to be slotted into that rotation come March and February and all that. But yeah, I'm excited to see where he goes from here.
I'm so excited. I can't wait till he comes out. But then I also fear like maybe you could just kind of chime in on this one. But is there such a thing as overexposing him where teams are like, okay, now we see how to get to this guy? Or is his stuff just so filthy that they're just not going to have an answer?
There is like some overexposure. Like on the Brewers side, you have Mizorowski, who's kind of been unhittable, but I think they're taking it easy as well too. He's kind of like their rookie. They don't want to kind of overwork him now, and then God forbid something happens and you lose him for a while. It's similar to us. Roki, we're kind of limiting him to 1 inning, maybe two, and like we'll see from where it goes from there. But I mean, these guys are all major league hitters. There's a ton of film on them. Someone's gonna find a cue here and there, whether it's for Mizorowski or whether it's for Roki Sasaki. They're gonna find a way to either adjust to this splitter or Mizorowski's insane fastball and all that. They'll make adjustments, but over a course of 7 games through this series, I do think teams are gonna make adjustments. I think the first couple games are gonna be like a feel out. Like we really
Mhm.
don't know where you're going, we don't know what we're doing, stuff like that. And by like game 4, 5, 6, I think both teams will have a ton of data on each player by that point, and they're like, well, this guy doesn't really do good with the slider down and away. We should pitch him that way, or like this guy's very elite at hitting fastballs high and up. Like, don't throw him a fastball high and up unless you want to like see it in the fourth row of the right field pavilion, etc. So I think adjustments are going to come, but not early on in the series. I think as the series goes on, you'll see more of those adjustments. But overexposure, I think. It depends how you use them as well too. Like if he only pitches like 1 inning in the first 2 games, I don't think they'll have enough data on him. So it's kind of like just go out there and kind of like see what he has essentially. But if you do use him like game 1, game 2, game 3, then
Mhm.
that's when I start to feel like, yeah, you're overexposing him and like your secret weapon, quote unquote, is now like they have a bunch of data on him, like 6, 7 guys have faced him now, so they probably have gotten good looks on him.
Well, I'm going to game 4, so let the record show that I want to see Roki Sasaki at least go pitch in my game. So I'm very excited for that. But yeah, we should kind of switch gears to the potential roster. And Dave Roberts said that they're going to likely add a pitcher for this series and eliminate a position player. So in terms of kind of like how they would go about that, let's just kind of start with the position player side of it before we talk about the pitching rotation and relief. Do you think that they're going to be carrying 3 catchers, or do you think one of those catchers is going to be off the roster?
I see. Look, I think Dalton Rushing is going to be off the roster. There's really no need for 3 catchers now at this point. Will Smith kind of
Mhm.
proved that he's healthy. And then looking at the other options, like Justin Dean, I kind of like out there as a late game replacement out in defense.
Mhm.
Hassan Kim as well too for his the speed ability. Alex Call had a really good series against the Phillies, so he kind of makes my team. So the odd man out is kind of Dalton Rushing in that scenario. So he's kind of the guy that I would cut position player wise and then add pitcher wise. There's a lot of options there. Edgardo can be an option. Ben Casparius can be an option. Technically, Kirby Yates can be an option. I don't think he's going to be an option.
Yeah.
If I had to pick between the three, I'd probably lean. See, it's tough because I'm a Ben Casparius guy. I like his stuff. Been a
Mhm.
fan of his stuff. The walk rate scares me. Edgardo kind of lost control against the Reds. Um, I'm gonna just lean with my guy. I'm gonna go with Ben Casparius. I lean towards him more than I do Edgardo. But yeah, I think that's the move, unless there's like someone out of left field that I'm not seeing right now that the
Mhm.
Dodgers trend to think he might play a bigger impact. But I think Ben Casparius is going to be that arm out the bullpen, another righty thrower.
Okay. Uh, what are your thoughts on Will Klein potentially making the roster?
See, I was impressed with his stuff the last like 2 weeks of the season, but I don't know if like he might be the left field option where he's like the Dodgers were just so impressed with like how his control is and like stuff is. Ben Casparius, his walk rate is the issue. You can't really walk guys in the playoffs because you're just asking for them to like kind of take advantage of that. But I wouldn't be surprised if Will Klein doesn't end up making this roster. Just because 7 games,
Mhm.
his stuff looked really, really good, especially when he was up in Seattle in that series that I saw out there. He looked really, really good. So I think that's the 3 guys that we're kind of just deciding between. It's going to be whoever they like best, basically, whatever numbers are better.
Never numbers are better. Yeah, and they have all the data. I'm sure that's kind of being finalized this evening going into tomorrow, but I'm definitely very curious. I'm definitely a Rortvedt fan, and I kind of want him to be the backup on the bench. There's obviously a taxi squad, and there'll be people that are there just, in case something happens. But do you think it's an advantage or a disadvantage that we didn't get home advantage and that we're starting on the road, or do you think it really doesn't matter?
See, I think it could be an advantage because you get 3 games in a row here at Dodger Stadium. But it also is a disadvantage because the last 2 games are the Brewers at Milwaukee's home stadium. And if it comes down to it, I don't know if I would be comfortable with like a game 7 on the road. I know in 2018 we won a game 7 on the road, but those 2 teams are
Mhm.
completely different to what these teams are now. I think the only 3 guys left on each team are Muncy, Kike, and Kershaw for us, and if you include Dave as well. And then on the other side, you have Yelich, you have the starting pitcher for game two, actually, Freddie Peralta, and you have Brandon Woodruff. So a lot has changed, but there has an advantages and disadvantages. I think your advantage here is you have those three games back to back to back here in Dodger Stadium. You have to kind of make your home field a fortress. You cannot afford to drop one or two games here at home because you're just asking to lose the series essentially. So if you drop one game, okay, it happens. But if that means if we're coming back 1-1 from Milwaukee, I'm like, okay, we dropped one game, that's fine. But you have to come out of that three-game stretch with two wins at least. That's the minimum, two wins to kind of feel comfortable with yourself. You'd be up 3-2 heading back for a potential game six, stuff like that. But yeah, you have to make Dodger Stadium a fortress for that three-game stretch.
Oh, you have to. I'm glad you brought up Kershaw because I hadn't had a chance to talk about him because he seemed like he was in the right mindset as far as like I'm going to be used however they're going to want me to be used, whether that's to be Honeywell 2.0, to be relief pitcher. Perhaps we'll see him as a starter. I really don't know because they really said they're going to stick with their four starters, and we'll probably see him in a different way. Do you think he makes the roster? And if so, what do you think they're going to use him for as his role?
Yeah, I think him and Robleski would be in scenarios where we do have to punt a game. Similar to last year, where
Okay.
like, hey, like these guys got out to a big lead. It's 7-0 after like 3 innings or 4 innings. Like we just have to save arms. Like I think that's the scenario where you see him. Unless there's like a row of like three lefties in a row, but even then, I would tend to trend towards Dryer or Vesia. So yeah, I think Robleski and Kershaw are kind of like the punt options, like, or if like there's a
Mhm.
scenario where we went up like 8-0 or something like that ridiculous, and like we just don't want to waste any more arms, and like Yoshi went through like 6 innings, and we just need someone to kind of we can trust to like just find a way to like get us 9 outs essentially. And I think that's where Robleski and Kershaw kind of fit in.
And that's not a knock on his legacy because I know people were saying that last, like we shouldn't see Kershaw's last outings be like that, where he's just eating innings. But at the same time, I think like, isn't the goal always just get to the end and get the and hoist the trophy? Because that's the goal for everyone. And I mean, who would better understand that than Kershaw, right?
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal is even himself, you can ask him like, do you want to finish your career with two World Series championships or a third one potentially? And I think he would pick that third one. And even at this point in his career, he said it himself early on in the season that's going to be a war essentially to be one of those four guys to be the Dodgers rotation in the playoffs. He knew the writing was on the wall essentially, especially when all four guys were clicking and all four guys are kind of clicking right now at this moment. And I mean, it's not a knock on his career. I mean, it just happens to be like he is a guy that we trust to get us like 9 outs essentially if we have to, or a guy that even if well now that Robleski's on the roster, Robleski can kind of be mop up duty if we do end up essentially punting a game. But if the game's 7-0 in our favor and we just need like hey like we need someone to go get us like 9 outs, can you do it? Because we don't want to burn like Roki Sasaki, or we don't want to burn a Blake Trinan or Alex Vesia, our high leverage guys, Emmett Sheehan, stuff like that. Like, can you go get us 3, 6, 9 outs? Like Kershaw's the perfect guy to go. Like, yeah, I can go get you. And I think a lot of people just are attributing it to that Phillies game. He just didn't have his stuff. I don't know if whether it's
Right.
like he didn't have enough time to warm up. He just like every pitch that he was throwing looked like it was laboring, looked flat. So I don't think he's gonna have that same flat feel whenever he does get an opportunity to pitch in this series.
Yeah, I kind of felt that too. I think he kind of like had that one bad day. Every pitcher, even the most classic, legendary pitchers that you'll ever know and see, have those days and nights. But yeah, we have our pitchers set up. At least it was confirmed before we filmed the show not too long ago that it's going to officially be Snell going game one and Yamamoto game two. We were speculating Ohtani for game two because the travel day would come next. Are those the right moves in your opinion for the first two games?
I believe so because it gives you a chance to kind of throw Blake Snell in a potential game five, and Yoshi in a potential game six, and then game seven, if it does get there, is kind of all hands on deck at that point just to try to get to the World Series. But yeah, what really worries me is Otani's bat. That's so you kind of give him the first two games to kind of just focus on that. Like these
Mhm.
first two games, like we need to get you back on rhythm and offensively, whether it's like singles or like just little bloop singles here and there. It's like we just need to wake your bat up essentially. And then when we come back to LA, back home, here's an opportunity for you to pitch, essentially, whether that's game 3, 4, or 5, whatever game that is. I think it's trending towards game 4, if I had to guess. I think they're gonna give Glass now that day game on was that Thursday? Yeah, it's
That
Thursday,
weird
right? Yeah, 3
day.
p.m. I feel like every day game this year has been a Tyler Glasnow start, and I think it's gonna be another Tyler Glasnow start. And I think you'll see Ohtani in game 4. So yeah, I think that's what their vision is. Blake Snell again been very dominant. Yoshi, he did have that one struggle. It does worry me that he had his only bad game of the season in Milwaukee, but I kind of feel like he's not gonna have another bad start in this playoff run. I think he's just I think that one was kind of just like, yeah, he was due for a bad start, and it just so sucks that it was game 3 of the National League Division Series when he had that bad start. I think he's gonna bounce back in a big way for us in game 2. But again, I have the utmost confidence in these 4 guys to get the job done.
God, I'd be so happy if Ohtani pitched the game that I'm going to and Roki closed. I would just die of happiness that day. But yeah, yeah, the 3 p.m. start is very bizarre. I think we were in our text chain like, what is that? Because I think we're getting a lot of heat as Dodger fans. I don't know if you saw the social media post, but it was wild the amount of like uh rival teams that were like, see, you can't even fill your stadium. And it was 3 p.m. on a weekday in Los Angeles. And that's like, tell us you've never been to LA without telling us you've never been to LA. But I mean, it's a side note, but why are other teams so obsessed with our stadium when we literally lead all of MLB in attendance every year?
I don't know. They must be bored because their team sucks and they're not playing this late until October. But yeah, there's also another just I don't understand MLB's like thinking like you have 2 teams. Yeah, you want to like cater to the East Coast audience, but like the West Coast games, why don't you cater to the West Coast or like have both games playing at the same time? You've done that throughout the regular season or at like later start times when you know like people have jobs, people have lives. Like why are you scheduling a game at 3 p.m. on a Thursday? Like that doesn't make sense to me. I get it because Milwaukee's in that central time zone kind of deal, but again, cater to the West Coast at that point. Like the Milwaukee fans are going to stay up regardless of how late that game is. But yeah, it's going to suck because I think I might miss a majority of game 3 just because of work reasons. But I don't know. I'm going to have to figure something out. Game like these games are kind of like up in the air for me right now. But yeah, hopefully I'm able to figure something out. But MLB really didn't do any favors to the
Mhm.
West Coast audience, essentially.
No, they're not favors at all. I mean, we're gonna do our best. We're gonna get on pregame and postgame, but that puts a monkey wrench for us because we still work and it's a lot. But yeah, definitely going to be an exciting week one way or another. We'll figure it all out. But as we're kind of getting ready to round out, I've had a chance to watch a little bit of the Brewers here and there. Who do we have to look out for on their team?
So I've kind of listed their strengths. Their strengths are their bullpen. There's only one like traditional starter, Freddie Peralta. He'll get the ball game too. Game 1,
Right.
they said they're gonna go with an opener. They haven't decided on who yet. I think they'll hold that towards game time. So their bullpen
Yeah.
has been very, very good. Mizorowski, like I mentioned before, 7 Ks through the playoffs. Chad Patrick, 6 Ks, and their bullpen in total has 46 Ks. Another guy in there is Trevor McGill. I think is how you say that last name. So their bullpen's been pretty awesome, and their offense as well too is kind of clicking. I mentioned him before, Jackson Churio. He's kind of taking that next step. He's kind of is nursing an injury. He kind of re-aggravated that in against the Chicago Cubs. I think it was game 1 or 2. He's playing through it though.
Mhm.
Christian Yelich. It's weird that Christian Yelich is now considered the old guy of this team. Back in 2018, he was
Right?
the young guy of the Brewers team. It's kind of weird to kind of see that growth. He is the oldest position player. I think he's 33, and the rest of these guys are in their mid 20s. William Contreras, the brother of Wilson, he's been a monster, absolute animal. So the strengths are really is their bullpen and their offense. Like I said, a good bullpen could carry you to win the World Series, as you saw ours last year. But if you
Mhm.
rely heavily on your bullpen and you keep giving these guys more looks, more looks, more looks, someone's eventually gonna figure something out. And I think that was the game plan in 2018. The Brewers had a lot of good starting pitchers, but they were over reliant on their bullpen. They got guys like Josh Hader, Corey Knebel, Jeremy Jeffries,
Mhm.
stuff like that. And then the Dodgers offense ended up figuring out who the soft spot in that bullpen was, and it was Jeremy Jeffries. He ended up blowing the second game for them, ended up blowing seventh game as well too. But all those games were pretty close. But yeah, I think the over reliance on the bullpen is going to be the issue for the Brewers. I think it's going to cause problems for them as the series goes on.
I mean, not everyone can do what the Dodgers did last year and rely, on the bullpen as much as we did. I mean, in a way, we probably got a little bit lucky, but they were just dogs. And typically, when you have that many guys coming out that often, it doesn't have the success rate that it usually that we saw last year. So hopefully, that works in our favor this week. Our starting pitching is the stuff that dreams are made of. I mean, this is, I think, was the plan all along to get us this amount of starting pitching healthy in October, and whatever they had to do to get here is going to be a huge piece of the game. And if our offense does what they were, cooked in a lab to do, we're going to be fine. But it's just a matter of them waking up. And I'm not so much worried about our bullpen because our bullpen has guys in there that have been showing us that they can really get it done, even if it's not going to be Tanner Scott this series. He's not going to be a part of it. Perhaps he'll join us in the World Series if we make it, but I'm real excited to see them all put the pieces together. They have the data, just now execute. So I'm very excited for that. So ultimately, if we had to narrow it down to one thing, what is the key to the series for the Dodgers to take this away and get the pennant?
Dodgers win the pennant if the rotation remains elite and the offense has its timely hitting. That's kind of what I wrote down here. If the
Mhm.
rotation is on fire like it was against the Brewers, I really don't think there's a team in baseball that can beat us right now. I always think starting pitching, you can always rely on that. And when you have four of the best starting pitchers out of the top 10, I think there was a graphic that MLB dropped. Top
Yeah.
10 starting pitchers, four of our guys are on that list. I think that's going to be the reason we end up winning the series and why we end up potentially going to the World Series is our starting rotation. And timely hitting, look, I've emphasized it already enough. Just situations
Mhm.
where you find yourself with runners on, two outs, you kind of have to bring one run in, whether it's a single or if you have one out and you hit a sac fly, stuff like that. Just situational hitting. You don't have to do anything crazy. Just put the ball in play and kind of let's see what happens from there. There's nothing bad. Well, things always happen when you put the ball in play, as we saw last series with Orion Kirkering. You kind of put the ball in play and something happened for you. So that's kind of going to be my emphasis: the rotation and the timely hitting. That's how the Dodgers end up winning the series.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be such an exciting week. And I think that the Dodgers are in a prime position to do it. I mean, 7 game series are my favorite because I know that at the end of the day, Roberts has all the experience in the world in terms of being here before. He has made all his mistakes. Not that he can't make one again, but I think he's learned a lot and what to do and what not to do. And I trust him over a 7 game span. So yeah, the schedule for the week is an interesting one. It looks like games 1 and 2 are going to be 5:08 Pacific time. That weird game 3 we were talking about will be on, because Travel Days Wednesday will be on Thursday here in LA at 3:08, and then games 4 and 5 here in LA at 5:38 and 5:08. So we'll see how that all shakes out. And if we even need a game 6 and 7, that'll be the following week on Monday and Tuesday. But yeah, I don't know if it'll go that far. Can you predict? Well, maybe we'll save this for later, but let's say for right now, do you think it's going to go 5, 6, or 7 games? Or do you think we're sweeping?
No, there's no way we sweep. Uh, as much as I love the confidence that producer Roger has behind the scenes, he predicted sweep. No, see, I don't want to share my prediction, but I'll say it's a long series. That's what I'll say.
Okay.
Because I don't I kind of want to save it for our prediction video, but yeah, I'll say it's a
Okay.
long series. But the Dodgers
Okay, I'm
end
gonna
up
agree.
winning. Yeah.
I think I'll keep it vague like you, and we'll save it for our video. But I definitely, yeah, I don't see a sweep. So I think we have to brace ourselves. There might be a punt game. There might be a game where we have to just, not have the happiest post game show that we love to have. But I definitely think that at the end of the week, there or maybe next Monday or Tuesday, we'll be getting ready for the World Series, and I feel that that's my not so vague, but vague response. So that is going to be exciting. I'm so excited that we even made it this far because I could tell you there was times when I didn't know we are going to make it this far. But yeah, as we get ready to round out, do you have any final words for our listeners and viewers?
Final words. No, just excited for it. I think if we do end up dropping a game here in Milwaukee, it's okay to be upset, but kind of just put in the rear view mirror. It's 7 game series. A lot can happen, but those are my final words. It's going to be a stressful time, but it's always a fun time when the Dodgers are playing baseball.
It always is. And so definitely very happy. And we're still in the dance. The Final Four is a great place to be. Definitely want to draw your attention to some really great merch that the Bleed Los podcast has on our site. Check out DodgersBeat.com and the Bleed Los podcast. There is, and you probably saw it, Anthony, a Roki shirt that has I think it said Monster of the Reiwa era shirt. And it's so dope. I think I have to get one.
Yeah, there's also a lot of cool, like a lot of people are making a lot of cool edits on TikTok of Roki Sasaki, and like I feel like it's going to be something that projects him forward. He has a lot of people supporting him because a lot of people from opposing teams were kind of bashing him for showing emotions and stuff like that. And now the Dodger fans have kind of taken him underneath their wing and like, you're not going to bash this guy. This guy's our guy, basically. So I'm excited. Best time of the year. I'm ready for baseball tomorrow.
Yeah, Roki, you have a ton of support and definitely have completed that arc of, starting off one way. And if you believe in yourself and you work hard, look what happens. So excited to see what he shows us this week. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here. Make sure that you, check out DodgersBeat.com for all the articles. We're going to have Cody joining us for post game tomorrow. So definitely come back and check us out. We'll be here all week long. He and Steve Webb will be putting out articles for you to read and get all up to date with no matter what happens this week. And definitely check out the Bleed Los Podcast Network of all the pregame pressers, postgame interviews and pressers. Producer Raj and the team definitely get all of it done for you. And you can see that again, day in and day out. Check out our handles. You can find me, Drea, on Instagram and X at Ravine Queen 1958. Check out Anthony on X and Instagram at Anthony Acosta _. And until we see you tomorrow, let's go Dodgers.